Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. You've reached the Fanatics of Film, and my name is Ben here, and just wanted to reach out and kind of give you my 2 cents on this new show called Castle Rock. Pretty amazing stuff. This is, we're looking at episode 7 of season 1 here, the very beginning. I like to call this episode Fill in the Blanks because you get to see Ruth and her, we get to see all the blanks of why she's acting the way she is and where she's going from. We see all these past experiences that you get, but you see her perspective on everything. You see her, what she's going through and why she's doing what she's doing, her motivations and where she ends up and what she ends up doing. And it's really great. If you haven't seen the show on Netflix, there are 3 seasons, a great show called Bloodline, and that has Ben Mendelsohn in that, who played Orson Krennic from Rogue One. Very fantastic, perfect, wonderful villain in that. She is in this show, and she's actually a great character in that show as well. And this show actually feels a lot like Bloodlines. If you're a fan of Bloodline, if you like Bloodline, I would be curious to talk to you about how you feel about the closeness that this has to that. The feel of it, the music, the pulsating quality that this has. You get to see, of course, this beginning here. We have a pet cemetery moment. And I realized that this whole thing, it's like they're combined. I guess apparently this is the storyline that IMDb reads. So, a psychological horror series set in the Stephen King multiverse, Castle Rock combines the mythological scale and intimate character storytelling of King's best loved works, weaving an epic saga of darkness and light played out on a few square miles of Maine woodland. So they're including like all these different possibilities and different characters from different novels of it. The Shawshank Prison in there as well. Anyway, taking place in Maine, which is very far north. I've never been there. I've been to Canada in that same area. I've never been to Maine. The fictional Maine town of Castle Rock has figured prominently in King's literary career. Cujo, The Dark Half, It, and Needful Things, as well as novella and The Body, and numerous short stories such as Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption. Anyway, so contain references to Castle Rock. So, once again, this is just like a merging of all these different stories. Really interesting stuff. I wonder to what capacity, to what depth Stephen King has been on this. Be interesting to talk to him and see what he's, how involved he is. Written by many, apparently, so a lot of people are involved in this show. Very, very cool stuff. There are moments in the first couple of episodes that you're just kind of like, not so much. I wasn't too hyped about it, but quickly I did get on board here. Very cool stuff. You have, of course, one of the big standout, of course, is Scott Glenn. Of course, he's been in a million things, and I remember him from many films from a long time ago, from anywhere from Hunt for Red October to Absolute Power, that was a Clint Eastwood film that was in there. But and of course we all know him from being in The Defenders, and of course the Daredevil series that's on Netflix. So cool stuff. And of course he's definitely a really strong character in this, as well as Andre Holland. And I didn't see him in Moonlight. I didn't see Moonlight yet, but he is in Moonlight. He's in 42 and Selma as well. So these are films I need to check out. So anyway, I just wanted to reach out and kind of check in with you guys and see what you think about this episode, this new season, or excuse me, this what's happening here. You're finding out kind of what Ruthie is dealing with, what she's going through, and what her motivations are, what how much of what she's experiencing. Like part of me, a lot of me is trying to determine to what degree is she experiencing what she's experiencing, and how much of what she's experiencing is her Alzheimer's, because it's established now, well, that it's basically Alzheimer's. At least she thinks it is. She establishes that she thinks that it's she's come to that conclusion that it's Alzheimer's. And if what degree is it her kind of just figuring things out or forgetting things, or to what degree is it is it her just figuring out, is it the spirit that's in the woods that everybody's been talking about this whole time? This entire series has been extraordinary in that, in finding, like, is it God, is it the devil type of thing? And that's the whole big question on everybody. Everybody's that talks about this entity that you can hear, and that's based solely on acoustics, apparently, and we learned in the last episode, getting into this. So really, really cool stuff. Very interesting things that's been happening there, especially with episode 6. Anyway, this is episode 7. Very interesting stuff. She's leaving the chess pieces in different parts of the house. This is a very interesting component to the story. How is this going to play out? Is this going to be something that she will reveal later, or somehow? But by the end of this episode, she figures out that she's left the bullets because she needs to kill her old lover, who's been taken into this who has somehow adapted the body of somebody else. Anyway, really, really extraordinary, interesting capturing there of what's happening. You really this is where it's revealed. At least last episode, you're kind of revealed to episode 6 and 7. You're kind of realizing who the villain is, and what he's all about, where he comes from, what he is, and who he is. It's finally all that stuff is finally revealed here. Crazy stuff. So, and so here we are in this final scene of this. Truly incredible. This is actually a really, really incredible scene where they talk about and this is kind of reveals where we are in this entire series. What is causing all the issues? What is causing all these problems and everything? And I'm just gonna quickly kind of go through it here. And he's sees these two guys here, and Henry does, and he says, "You were both at the cemetery, both of you, weren't you?" And they were saying, they responded, honestly, I was surprised you hadn't held your father's service out here. This was his church. You knew. And Henry says, you knew my father, and he says very well. We shared very similar interests: spirituality, philosophy, physics. And then he pauses and he says acoustics. And this guy's kind of deaf, and he's interpreting this here. So we are out here to listen, of course, just like you, also to correct young Willie, of course. I'm not sure what that means, but what are you listening to? Henry says. And your father called it the voice of God. Most people can't hear it at all. Some hear it once and never again. A lucky few hear it constantly, practically deafened by it. And Henry responds with lucky, and he says that there are geographic variations. Naturally quiet in some places, much louder in others. You are saying, and then Henry responds with, you are saying my dad believed he could hear God out here. And they say, for a time, the ancients called it the music of the spheres, which I thought was pretty cool. I have a more scientific view of it, the nature of the schisma. That's what they're calling it. That is the preferred nomenclature currently. So you don't believe God is talking directly to you then? Henry says. And he responds with, I have advanced degrees in bio and psychoacoustics. Best I can tell is that the schisma is the nanoscale turbulences caused by cochlear quantum totalities abrading in parallel. And other ears, other nows. All possible pasts, all possible presents. The schisma is the sound of the universe trying to reconcile them. So it's like all these different possibilities are going to collide, all these different parallel universes, or universe, whatever you want to call it, universes. These parallel universes could collide, which is why I'm wearing a DC thing here. So, but The sound may come and go, but the schisma is eternal. It's eternal and everywhere, underlying all space and time. It has been getting louder again, Henry, and it hasn't gotten this loud in decades. The problem is, no matter how strong the signal, the world is noise, auditory distraction. Those who hear the schisma have to clarify, to amplify. During the last amplitude crest, your father conceived of a device, used the schematics of Noah that was dictated from God. He called it a filter. And so, fortunately, he was able to construct this. So, interesting stuff. What do you guys think? Do you think that Ruthie's, all of her erratic behavior, aka Alzheimer's, is actually the schisma? What do you think? Do you think it's actually something like that? Do you think that this is just... it's interesting to kind of talk about. This is something that, is interpreted many different ways, interpreted as a paranormal experience for these people, for a lot of people. But to him, it's just a scientific colliding of dimensions, so to speak. Anyway, thanks for checking this out. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to The Fanatics of Film. My name is Ben here at The Fanatics of Film, and have an awesome day. Thanks for checking it out.